Hello traders at CMC Markets. This is an update from me, Trevor, analyst at RRG Research, on the evening of Monday the 27th of November, prior to the close of the US markets and before the opening of Europe and, crucially, the German confidence index. So we're going to talk about the DAX and we're going to talk about the US indices as well. We can see here on my chart with a relative rotation graph, we've got of that group of indices, the strongest is the Nasdaq, but you see the direction here is downwards, and this is because it's flattening out a bit here. So some loss of momentum there. And then on the S&P, got a similar situation as it also flirts with its highs. And then on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, again also flirting with its highs, and we'll have a close look at how it's losing a bit of momentum. But on the DAX, which is very interesting in front of that data, so we're going to look at the short-term analysis of that. With the DAX, we're not at our previous highs, we're well below it, and that gives us more potential before we reach resistance. We're going to start with the strongest, the Nasdaq. This is an hourly chart of the Nasdaq, and here is the July high, and we're broken it, pulled back, tried again, pulled back exactly to it, stunningly. The MACD is negative, but the MACD is closing in on its signal line. Now we have really got a long-term uptrend. We've broken a high. It's quite normal to retest the high, breakout, pull back to retest it. I think it's holding it. Now moving to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you remember what quadrant it was in and how it was looking in the RRG chart, and we see here, yes, loss of momentum, and we see it here on the RSI, because here it's testing this July high consolidation that we've got, and I think that's going to really make it very difficult for the Dow to progress. I think it will ultimately progress because it's still in a strong uptrend, and if it does pull back, it will be well supported at 35,000, I think. But at the moment, it's beginning to show signs of the resistance and the struggle of the resistance, and the threat is that it could come down to 35,000. And now moving to the hourly chart of the S&P. Now we've shot up in the S&P, a very sharp rally indeed, but there are signs that it's losing momentum as it approaches its 4,600 July high. We've got a higher high, and a higher high, but the MACD is warning us that we are losing momentum. Look at that, down and down in that. High, higher high, and bullish divergence, a classic bullish divergence for this market. So high, lower high, a big warning of loss of momentum, feeling the weight of the resistance from the July high, and therefore it could potentially pull back here, but it's certainly lost a lot of power on the upside quite suddenly after that very sharp rise. So we got resistance, short-term resistance at the high of this month at 4,560. We got support at, first support is at 4,525, and then 4,520 from this high here. The trend on the RSI is quite neutral, and on the stochastic it's also quite neutral. So we're in a neutral position here at this resistance with severe loss of momentum in the sharp. So it's likely that we're going to move a bit sideways here now, probably pressured by the levels above the 4,570 up to 4,600, and supported and strongly supported at 4,520. And now moving to the hourly chart of the German DAX. We're looking forward to these important figures, consumer confidence figures, which people are really focusing at the moment. And so the market is going into this with a pessimistic point of view. It's well below below its July high, so it's not flirting with the high like those US markets, but it's got resistance of 16,038. It's got support, which is approaching now at 15,950. Then the next level of support is at 15,800, and then at 15,855. It is well supported there, and going into the data we can see that people have sold it. I would say therefore the traders are rather short of this market. Considering it's a bull market, it is likely that the reaction to the data when it's released will be actually positive, even if the numbers themselves are slightly negative due to the position of the traders. The trend is up. In conclusion, in the US indices we looked at of the S&P, the Nasdaq and the Dow, all of them look as though as they approach their July highs, they're suffering from momentum loss and an indication that the sharp rises that we've had in the short term are going to be stifled by the resistance, and the next bit is going to be a bit of a struggle. Not to say it's not going to break it in the longer term, but in the short term they're looking quite, in inverted commas, iffy. In the case of the DAX, in front of its data, it's being sold off, but it's towards support, and it looks as though it's got quite a lot of potential because it's well below its July high. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. I hope you find this useful and a good guidance. This is Trevor Neal from RRG Research. I wish you the best, and may the trend be with you. Goodbye.